Ooga booga, ooga booga. What's up, guys? It's VXB, and or if you're listening on the podcast, Buzz for the Ears. Yeah, I always forget it. Yeah. Buzz for the Ears. Okay.
Or on YouTube.
VXB as well. So it's VXB on everything, but on there it's different. It's just weird. Oh shoot! Who just followed?
We got
Darmando.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Okay, well. He's saying thank you. Y'all don't even know who he is. This is Adam. If you listen to the podcast, you should know who this is. Adam, introduce yourself. You tell a little about yourself.
I don't know. Put me on the spot here. Here, like he said, my name is Adam. I know VJ for a little bit now, but recently we've just been getting into it with like creating content and stuff, and hopefully we can bring some nice entertainment to you.
Nice entertainment. Yeah, this is gonna be more like kind of like. Well, I can't say it's gonna be mellow. I don't know if it's gonna be. Just know it's gonna be like, we're not gonna be like, oh my god, like wow, like no, we're not gonna be like that. Like it's gonna be genuine reaction to genuine conversation to this. So.
It's gonna be a lot of sharing of ideas, and if you're not okay with controversy, I would very recommend not listening to this.
I forget they're seeing this.
There's gonna be a lot of controversy. We're both gonna have some cool things to say, so we'll have to see exactly how this is gonna go. Neither me or VJ have like seen this whole thing, but we do have.
Is that okay? You think the screen is okay?
Yeah, I feel it looks good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it looks good. Okay.
Me and VJ, we have similar ideas, but we also have different ideas.
We have different ideas. I mean, we're human beings.
Especially when it comes to the political stuff. But the cool thing is we get to talk about this.
Yeah, we get to talk about it on the... And I'm going to be honest with you. Like, we're getting into Andrew Tate's, first interview with BBC after getting out of jail. And I don't know much about who Andrew Tate is besides the fact of, what I heard from him. I never heard of the content. I never watched any of his. I never consumed any of his content. I never indulged into it. I remember it was the beginning of this year, kind of. I heard more about him.
Yeah.
And hearing more about him, all I heard from him was bad things. I never heard a single good thing till I met you and you started saying something. So I was like, uh-oh. He's a supporter. Because all I heard is his misogynistic things, the mindset that he has about I don't give a fuck, type of I don't care about women. I don't they should know their place. They should stay where they need to be, and his mindset on that.
And that's what you hear about him.
And
right?
that's what I hear about him, and there's a lot of people who say that.
Yeah.
And so, being with, I don't know, from just forming my opinion from there, I didn't, judge him. I never viewed his content, but I didn't want to view his content if that's what I knew. From the idea of, if that's how he is, and I don't support that at all. At all. I don't even care if he's, a millionaire, what a really business professional dude. In a sense, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
But what if that idea was obviously this is what everyone says, but what if not even just in this case, what if there was a person out there that was said about a lot, but that wasn't truly who they were. But you never took, because you heard those things, you never took the time to maybe do your research and see, is this person really what they say they are? Yeah,
so I did a little bit. Where I looked into people I get into why do people support these type of people? And I figured out that it was a lot of men. It was a lot of... I don't even think there is any women who do... There's a lot?
It's 40%.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Who like Andrew Tate's content?
But Andrew, I don't know how true this is, but Andrew Tate himself has said he has felt there is very, very few women that have actually came out and spoke against him. From his perspective? From what he's seen, yes.
That is actually insane.
Which is kind of crazy.
That is so crazy. A lot
of his supporters are women, But does that, I understand a lot of his haters are also women, right? But, and men that don't agree with misogyny and whatnot. And that is true, because misogyny is not okay.
Yeah, it's not.
The question is Andrew Tate a misogynist? That is the question.
Well, I personally don't know. I haven't watched anything. I haven't viewed any of his content. I just hear it from others.
Yeah.
And that is not a way to form an opinion.
Yeah.
And so I never go around saying like, oh, I hate Andrew Tate. I hate him. No, I keep him somewhere away. And I don't talk about. So going into this is gonna be my kind of like my first opinion about him.
Okay.
Like my first real opinion about him.
Like from actually, because this is uncut, right? We're not watching the BBC interview, which is edited, which obviously when news edits stuff, they have an agenda. This is the full uncut interview, so you will be able to, like, I guess, take your own ideas. Obviously, this probably won't tell you too much about is he a misogynist or not, because, you know, there's a lot to go about, but maybe you can get a better idea of who he is as a person. Because while it is kind of contradictory if he is, like, a misogynist or not, I definitely think there's a lot of points that he touches on. And I feel like about like 70% of what he says is correct. And like there is no argument against what he says.
There's no argument at all.
Like, yeah.
No argument is crazy to say.
But I would say that's not for everything he says. I'm not agreeing with everything he says, but I feel like for a good amount of the stuff he says, especially about hard work, dedication, and like trying to raise young men, I feel like a lot of it is correct. And even women, right? He doesn't.
But why raise young men to think about, you know, a woman in that way? If he does that, like if he has a lot of misogyny from what I heard, and thank you, what's it called, Calvin, for joining along. I see
Hot Teens
react to Top G. I don't even know who Top G is, but okay.
That's him. That's his
name.
Yes, the top gangster.
Yeah. So.
But he calls himself
Calvin, you know about. Okay, anyways, all right, but it's like why teach young men those things alongside.
The dedication,
stuff, right? Like all the things that are positive about him. Like, why teach young men along those sides? Because young men are very gullible. I could say for myself, I'm still learning. Like, once you get older, it's harder to break this like a habit of being very stubborn to your own ideal.
And it's very easy for someone our age to just take stuff and run with it, right? I can understand that. Yeah. But the thing is, he is trying to teach young men how to be men, and I feel like a part of being a man is how you treat women. Yeah. Right? And I feel like the things that he teaches is treating women with respect.
You think he teaches women with respect?
I think if you...
It's like I know you're trying to like have both sides, like you do that often. But are you sure? Are you positive?
I feel like if you take away the stuff he says out of like sarcasm...
Are you sure it's sarcasm? Are you sure it's jokes?
That isn't a question. There is no way. But also some of that stuff was said 4 or 5 years ago when the world was a different place. Mr. Beast would go online and say racist stuff.
Oh yeah, KSI, like different other YouTubers.
And the internet is a very different place now, right? So back then, he could joke about that stuff and it would be funny. People would laugh. But nowadays, you can't really do that, right? So I don't think it's completely fair to him to go back 5 years ago, take a clip out of context, post it 5 seconds when he was talking for like 5 hours about a certain subject, and then just say that's what it is. I feel like even what he does, you know, he treats women with respect, and the people that have been around him don't say he does bad things to women either. I feel like he just kind of goes out there and talks about how certain men should treat women. And I do understand that some things might seem as contradictory. Like, I think there's a clip out there, I think he touches in this interview, there's a clip out there of him saying, like, you know, he should be responsible for a woman if he is responsible for their safety.
Okay.
And that kind of is, like, in the sense of, like, how I thought about it is, like, if you're going to, like, if you're a man, right? And especially, let's say it's late at night. Maybe we're in Killeen, Texas, because we know this place is not safe at all.
Sometimes, yeah.
Right? And you're walking down late down at night, and it's, like, unclear. Shouldn't the man have, like, he said this in this interview, by the way. Shouldn't he have a say in, like, maybe what route they take home? Or, like, have that direct say? And she's like, maybe I want to go this way. And he should be able to say, like, no, I want to do this. Because he's responsible for her safety. And I feel like the analogy to that is, like, if you're going to go out and hire a bodyguard for your safety, right? And they say, we have to go this way right now, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you just listen? You don't want to be like, no, I'm going to go this way. No, by trusting them with your safety, you give them full responsibility on that kind of stuff.
I would understand a bodyguard saying those type of things, like being able to listen. But if, say, your significant other wants to take a scenic route to the house, do you say no? No, I'm not going to do that way. No, I'm just saying, I can't imagine me doing that to like my girlfriend right now. Like that's actually insane.
What if it is in like a dangerous neighborhood?
Okay.
And you have to walk through like a bad place of the neighborhood, and she is insisting that you go that way. Like, if you are responsible, you as a man would feel you are responsible for keeping your significant other safe.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah.
Right? You would feel that way. shouldn't you have a say in how you're gonna keep her safe?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're not gonna go down that alleyway and have to fight off like 50 dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't you much rather,
do
do something else? You know?
Mm-hmm. I know, I understand. Like, I guess I really think it's like dependent on your kind of like, it is a very dependent like on your person type of like thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like say your significant other is very adamant on doing something where they're not even gonna listen to you, to the type of sense. Like, I think that's kind of your problem. And that's kind of that's bad if your own significant other is not like understanding the fact that like that
you should go the safer route.
Yeah, that you shouldn't go into like this neighborhood where you could die. Like you have the chances of dying because it is nighttime and that there is high criminal rates. Like if your significant other does not comprehend that, I'm just saying that's kind of bad.
But then at that point, I feel like the man shouldn't have that responsibility to keep her safe anymore.
You said it's just on her now?
Yeah,
it's on her?
That's on you.
Okay.
You want to be a dumbass? Go fuck around and find out.
Okay, go ahead.
But anyways, I feel like that's a good intro talk.
Yeah.
Maybe we should jump in. Obviously, if there's something that is said, right? Me or you, go ahead and pause it, and we can talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
But I think we should try to knock out some of this. So
yes,
let's go ahead. Let's start this interview.
Guys, Andrew's just released a new interview with...
Just to start off, I mean...
Oh, damn. Already?
Well,
oh, my God.
He was, just so for context for you, he has been convicted, or not convicted, he's been, like, accused of rape allegations.
Oh.
He has been accused of human trafficking and stuff like that. The rape allegations have been dropped, but also it is just a lawsuit. And there's no way for us to know exactly the specifics, if this is a fabricated case or if this is true. Mm-hmm. One thing I will say to keep in mind when watching this is he does have to be careful. And he even brings this up on himself. I don't know why the interviewer asked him the questions that they do. He is in an active criminal case, right?
With cameras everywhere on this man. Oh my God.
Yeah, insane. But this is an active criminal case.
Yeah.
And so obviously some of his responses are gonna legally have to reflect that. After being in touch with his lawyers and stuff, right? You wouldn't go out and say stuff that's gonna harm you in your case while you're in an active case.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe once this is over, he'll have different things to say. But right now, there are some things that, like, he just can't say. And then
is that what they were explaining in the beginning?
No. This is what I'm saying. Like, he'll say as well. But one last thing before we go ahead. Sorry, I should have said this before. I wanted to give you some context. So especially with the legal part of this, the things that he says in his business, he is directly taking out of himself.
But look. You said why they asked him these questions? Look, they sent a list of sanitized questions and promised a fair and balanced interview.
And then they attempted a hit job. Wow.
And Tate finally agreed to begging in there.
And they ignored all of their promised questions and attempted a hit job.
I didn't even read that part.
So, but that's the news, right? They finally got in, and now they want some juicy stuff.
That's how you get your money.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, Vance?
But,
how did you not get it?
Yeah, I didn't get the message. It's kind of weird. What was I saying? So some of the things that he might have advised for, he is, in this interview, he will not correct with himself. Like, let's say his business went and posted something, he is going to say that was not me. Even though it might have been him, like, in like, a legal sense, your business is not yourself.
Yeah.
So if your business commits crimes, that's not on you.
Yeah.
Right?
That is true.
So just keep that in mind. I'm trying to, like, obviously saying that.
Your own workers could be doing something.
Yeah.
And it's just really, that's not your opinion. That's not you.
And saying what I just said could look bad for Andrew Tate, but I feel like it's important to be honest about this whole case. And at the end of the day, when he does this interview, he is going to be trying to keep himself safe. Because he doesn't want to say anything that's going to get him back in jail. All right. That's enough. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and get started here.
Andrew Tate, you've agreed to do an interview with the BBC today.
Yep.
The material is going to be published on television, on radio, online.
Perfect.
We are doing an interview with you because you're facing some very serious allegations.
Correct.
Rape, human trafficking.
Yep.
And also because there's a great deal of concern about the things you say and the impact that they have on young people or women.
I don't think the concern's about the things I say. I think the concern is for the level of influence I have and the reach I have. I would argue that a lot of the things that are already out there inside of the legacy media, the matrix as a whole, are far more damaging than the things I say.
Concern about the influence you have being a harmful influence, but let's start with the allegations.
Not necessarily a harmful influence. The fact that I am massively influential over the youth, and I understand that, but it's my influence as a whole which people are afraid of, not necessarily the things I say.
Let's start with the allegations. Have you raped anybody?
Absolutely not.
Have you trafficked anybody?
Absolutely not.
Exploited any women for
Absolutely
money?
not.
But you have admitted using emotional manipulation to get women to work in the webcam industry for you.
No. Firstly, let's begin. Let's start at the beginning. I'm facing charges. The first one you mentioned, the rape one's already thrown out by a judge.
Okay, I know that.
Secondly, it's very difficult for me to sit here and have a very frank and honest conversation with you while we're in the territory of Romania about a legal case that's going on within Romania. I have to protect myself. I've agreed to do an interview with you, and I want to be as honest with you as possible, but I can't incriminate myself in any way. I have to be very careful with what I talk about.
There are no charges yet.
Correct, there are no charges. There are no charges, and I've agreed to speak to you, but I have to be as honest and frank as I can while also protecting myself and following my legal counsel.
So let's talk about what you've said yourself then. You have said on the website, for your original website for the Hustlers University, that you emotionally manipulated women to fall in love with you so that you could get them working in the sex industry for your financial gain.
As I said, I have to be very careful with what I say, but let's put it this way. No women are coming out against me.
The new best way to make money online that nobody's talking about is something you've never...
Okay.
No women are coming against me. Proceeds to do a big ad. Okay.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not. Who?
There's testimony.
This is why you should sub and make sure I never get YouTube. Make sure I get YouTube.
Make sure we get YouTube Premium. No more ads. Finance us. Do you have anything? We're already paused now. Anything to say yet?
I mean, he's in a legal case, as you said before, and you told me that he has to be careful, and it makes sense. So I mean,
obviously, if his business said certain things, he can't admit to that.
Yeah,
right?
But I would anger me. It would anger me a little bit if I agreed to these questions and they just start
in your own home.
In
your own home.
They just start going crazy, and I'm like, I'll be there. I'll be pretty angry, like especially 2 minutes in.
Like you just started, and it's like, did you rape somebody? Yeah, I did. Like, what do you think they're gonna like?
I was already in a court case for this all. Like, I was literally in a court case. Like, that would be very aggravating. But yeah, I don't really got anything else.
Do you agree with what he said that maybe people with a lot of influence are typically targeted in this kind of community if they don't follow typical rules?
That's exactly what he said. Like,
well, I mean, he said they feel like they're coming out him because he has a lot of influence. Do you feel like people with a lot of influence are targeted if they don't follow what society wants for them?
I mean, of course. I mean, there are so many people who just you do one thing wrong and you got this cancel culture that like comes out of nowhere and is like nope. Mm-hmm. But you should know as an influential person, like,
to be careful with what you say.
To be careful what you say. And just like how he's being careful in this case, is he really, like, before, I don't think he was very careful, in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, it was more like, I think I used to see some interview clips of him on YouTube, and he always had shades.
And you can tell
he had shades on? Or something? Like, shades on. It seemed like he had a vibe where he was seemed really cool or something like that. And I know I said I don't consume any of this content.
But it comes up.
Yeah, it comes up. Like, it comes up random. I don't even know it's Andrew Tate. Until I look at the caption, I'm like, oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, it's Andrew Tate. But, like, I look at it and I'm like, it's like, this dude is like, has an appearance where he's like, really manly. And and I just like, it's like, I don't know how to feel about it sometimes. I don't know.
All right, we can go ahead.
Yeah.
Any from the current investigation?
The current investigation, which I cannot discuss, which I know intimately and you don't, I can tell you right now that the women who are in this case file, there are 2 American women who have been caught already in their lying, and then nobody else is accusing me of anything.
To begin with, it's very common in cases like this that the alleged victims do not always see themselves as victims.
Well, that's very interesting. It's actually extremely interesting because if I was a matrix-controlled organization, my goal was to slander somebody and try and destroy their name. You're telling me that they've chosen a crime which, one, is heinous, of course, because it damages the person's credibility, and two, you're saying that even if everyone else involved, if you have 5 people and everyone's sitting there saying, no, nobody's hurt anybody, we like Andrew, we've all worked together, we're friends, etc.
That's not what everybody's saying.
No.
Let me read you some of the testimony from the current investigation.
Can I finish this?
One of the witnesses said...
Can I finish this?
You're not answering the
Can I
question
finish
I asked
this?
you. You're not answering the question I
I
asked
am
you.
answering.
You can tell he's mad. Because, like, you did kind of come into his house.
People
Like,
who are involved in this, even if they say they're not victims, that they're still going to try and attack me and
They
pretend
are
they're victims.
treated as victims by the case that's ongoing. And not all of them are saying that. One of the witnesses says...
We can't go into the case. The case is open and active.
Well, let's just be clear that not all of the witnesses in the case are behaving in the way you describe. And even those that are, it doesn't bar them from being treated as victims by the prosecution by the case.
We have an open criminal investigation. I am absolutely not really sure I'll be found innocent. I know the case better than you. I know it intimately and you don't. I have seen all the criminal files and the evidence against me and you haven't. I know the truth of what happened and you don't. And I'm telling you absolutely not really, I've never hurt anybody, that the case that's been put against me is completely and utterly fabricated. And I'm never going to be found guilty of anything. And it's very difficult for me to answer your in-depth questions because we're sitting here inside of the territory of Romania. I'm beholden to the Romanian legal system. And I'm not going to incriminate myself because you're trying to prod me. You are wrong, and we're going to have to accept that for now and talk about something else.
Let me read you then what you have said about
Sure.
what you have done.
Sure.
You have said, my job was to meet a girl, go on a few dates, sleep with her, get her to fall in love with me to the point where she'd do anything I say, and then get her on webcam so we could become rich together.
I don't think that's what I personally said. I think
That's exactly what
no,
you said
that's
on your
that's
website.
that's no. I've never said that. That's something that you found on the internet. Doesn't mean I've said it. And again, once again, if any female on the planet has a problem with me, I strongly recommend her to go to the police and try and pursue me for criminal charges. It's actually very interesting.
I will say real quick, that thing that she just stated, that quote, was what I was talking about earlier. It was something that was online and was under his business. But in a legal sense, he can say, I never said that because that's his business.
Oh, in a league.
But in a
so
legal,
so he
if he wasn't in this case, I would think he would admit that was
he said that.
But at the same time, the fact that he's in a legal case, that can make him look bad, and he has every right to say, that was not me.
That was not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So technically, it was like it.
It could have been. We really don't know.
So he is he might have thought about it before then. You know what I mean? Like he knew in a way from like all that how influential he was and how like what he does as a person that he could have possibly set up his company and always talked as a company.
I mean, that's true. But also, this was older. This is not recent.
But it's still a
Right.
company.
No, I mean that quote that was put out there was more as a marketing thing, right?
A marketing thing?
Now the question is, would he actually agree with that? Because here's the description for it. Now, obviously, the statement could be false. I actually am not 100% sure. I've not legit.
I haven't looked at it.
I haven't legit checked it. I just saw a screenshot that was from his website, and it was being used to promote one of his like underground courses. Right.
Okay.
On how to get women to fall in love with you. Right? Or something like that. Or how to get women to like you. Or something like that. You know? And so I feel like in his sense he was using that as his credibility to say like, oh, I know what I'm doing. But the thing is, I don't know if that statement is true or false because I've not legit checked it. All I know is that I have just seen a screenshot with that on his website. But I also know how easy it is to fake something like that on a website. Like we could pull it up right now and do inspect element and like just change it to be like anything. You know?
True. But people, there's different ways to like look at screenshots. Like I remember I was going through when I was learning like my photography class. Like there is a lot of data into screenshots and things like that. That is like that is in there. Like you could tell from like the data that photo occupies of what is real and what is not.
Yeah.
And so, it most likely probably was real.
Yeah.
And most likely probably was real. It is also BBC that is a whole corporation looking into and finding that information as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
And
So
s-
this is like a
it
professional thing.
it is filtered through many different like it's not just like one little small like high school teenage group being like, hey, look what we found, you know.
But
like,
can you really expect that much from the media? Because the media is coming in, like
They're
they
gonna
will come in here with anything, and you know, well let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's get some.
I will like
Oh, you
last opinion about that because
Okay.
it's just like I don't know, having that as a marketing thing is kind of crazy.
that is pretty crazy.
Especially when it's
Mm-hmm.
young men who are looking at that and like, oh, mom, can I? It's like having V-Bucks.
Yeah, because like while at the same time, while he might be not, maybe he himself would not do that to women, saying that out there and saying that, telling these young men, hey, you can do this.
You do this.
That could be a bad thing.
Like
you know?
almost like terrible,
Right?
like because I don't know, like I wouldn't say I had complications with with getting people to like me in a sense because I am bubbly and when like I'm just talking to people, but it's like if I ever like saw something like that on the internet, I would be like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
like say like it's my middle school self. And I see it, I'm like having trouble with like a girl at the time, or like say I'm having trouble.
Pay
with
$200 and then
pay like
fixed, right?
not even $200. Like say it's like a really cheap amount.
Yeah.
Say it's like $5 just to get the thing.
And then you would.
I would spend. I think as a 6th or 7th grader, I probably would have spent money to buy something like that.
Yeah.
And imagine how many other little teenagers
Yeah.
would do that.
Mm-hmm. That's very
is-
true.
This
But
is saying.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that we are saying should be put in a general scenario because also we don't know all the specifics.
Oh yeah, we don't.
Right.
We're
So-
just saying what we
If this was the case,
Yeah.
then it would be bad. We do
Yeah.
not know if this is the case or if it is not.
It is not. Yeah.
We have not done our research. I hate when people go out there and immediately say this is the case when they have done an hour of Googling
Google,
online,
yeah.
right? I feel like if you really want to go here and say this is this for sure, it takes lots of time.
Lots of
time.
yeah.
You have to know all the backgrounds, the specifics, you
In
have
and
to
out,
understand.
history.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, at most, VJ said he's done none. At most, I've only seen like the very top of the level, kind of what's going on, and I can kind of see where maybe he's coming from. But at the same time, we don't know the very specifics, and I also feel like we're not informed to be like, hey, Andrew Tate is like say definite things about him. You know what I mean?
Like definite things. Like it's okay to have an opinion. That's why we have an interaction here. But it's
Yeah.
like we're giving an opinion from what we know from right now, and it's not definite. Everything could change, but like, but yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get it.
Yeah. It's not like I'm gonna go out here and say, sorry, real quick. It's not like I'm gonna go out here and say like, if you like Andrew Tate, you're a misogynist. I'm not gonna say that on live, or I'm not gonna go out here and say like Andrew Tate is amazing and you should listen to everything he has to say. Otherwise, you're gonna be a failure in life and get no women. You know,
no love.
I'm not gonna say that because we don't have enough information to really know that. But I feel like it's really cool because being able to see this, we can take those ideas and put them in a general term. All right, we can keep going.
That me, one of the most famous people in the world, who's been vilified by the legacy media and places all over the internet, while everyone has attacked me from every single angle, while federal agencies from multiple countries have called over 2,000 women who know me, we stand here with 0 new accusations since my arrest. 0. If you took any famous person, any man of substantial wealth, and you called 2,000 women who knew him, he'd find an ex-girlfriend who's upset, somebody who wants money who's upset. They called 2,000 people who knew me and could not find a single woman to make a new complaint. The only complaints they have against me are the initial complaints, which we can prove are lies, and that's where it stands. So I'm not going to sit here and allow you to pretend that I'm some kind of evil predator, when actually I'd argue the fact that people who've been investigated to the level I've been investigated to, if you were to take the average man on the street and investigate his entire life for 14 months, call everyone who's ever known him, and vilify him in the media, and encourage people to come forward for money, and you try and contact every ex-girlfriend he's ever had.
Would come forward and accuse those people of rape and accuse those
I
people
think that
of
you would have a lot more.
manipulation?
I think you would have a lot more flack than I've got. I'm actually such a nice person that
The
I've never had
BBC has
anyone come
spoken
at.
to somebody since your arrest
That's a bold
who says exactly those things. That with
You
you,
get what he's
it's
saying,
all
right?
manipulation. There's an
You get what he's
ulterior
Is this Sophie?
motive. Everything
Is this
you
Sophie?
Like he's saying like look, they've been studying me and calling everyone I know and been investigating me for 14 months, and they found basically nothing. He's saying,
but it's
if
like
you took some average guy on the street and did the exact same thing, you'd find more dirt on them than you would find on me.
And I'm just saying, you could hide. You would have known what you done, and hid it so well. You could do that. You could hide things like pretty well, and especially with money. Especially from his standpoint. So it's like,
So you're saying it's possible that with all the money he has and whatnot, he could hide things?
Yeah, especially if he knew what he did in the beginning. Like how are they ever gonna find that person's number or name or anything like that if not a single person knows about it?
But I still feel like that's a bold thing to say because
it's a bold thing to say.
There's a lot of
that he's the nicest person.
A lot of his life is a lot of his life is on camera.
Yeah. And
a lot of his life is public. So although, maybe with that kind of money it would be possible to hide stuff, I don't really believe that he is. And obviously neither of us are in a position to say this is fact, like I said before. But I feel like, especially with his values, I can understand maybe not saying certain things, like the full truth to maybe look better for the legal case. But at the end of the day, just like, as a man like that, I feel like he wouldn't like... I don't know. That is a tough one. I feel like there isn't much to hide.
I don't know. Why say take the regular man off the street and he has a better case to me? Because I feel like with a lot of money, with a lot of things that you have, you can do. I'm not saying like hide things, but I'm saying like you can go out and get more of like the things that you can want, in a sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready to continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, Sophie, the fake name, no face, the story that was
wanting
invented.
to please him and wanting him to be happy, that I was just kind of, okay, do whatever you want.
And what is she accused? Is she accused me of a crime? This imaginary Sophie?
She's making the point that there is
Has she accused me of a crime?
Emotional or psychological manipulation.
I've asked you a question and I've allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you a question.
Correct, but you're not the boss here because I've allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you the question.
Correctly, and I'm telling you.
You get to decide the answers.
No, we're equal here. I've allowed you into my house. You don't come here with a position of authority. I'm doing you the favor as legacy media, giving you relevance by speaking to you. And I'm telling you now, this Sophie, BBC
I get what he's saying. Like, okay, I get what he's saying, right? By like, he is right. You did it. I did invite you to my house. I did not have to speak to you. I'm giving you this interview, kind of like from whatever perspective. But to sit here, like, the BBC is a pretty big news outlet.
Yeah,
right?
I'm giving you more money just by inviting you to my house.
Like, I mean, I guess that's not a wrong statement because a lot of people are gonna go and look at this, right? Because,
just like us.
Yeah, people want to hear what happened here because it's first interview out of jail. People are gonna want to hear what he has to say. So they're not necessarily wrong in the fact he's not wrong in the fact that he's saying like give you relevance, but I feel like the way he said it is kind of like in a way it's like you're irrelevant.
Yeah, it sounded mean, bro. It sounded like I gave you relevance. Like your whole life was nothing.
Like if you did not do this interview, you would be a nobody. Like, it kind of sounds what he's saying.
Yeah, but it's such a passive but aggressive way.
Yeah. But I guess that isn't necessary. You know what I mean? Like. I mean, he's not saying that, but it just kind of like seems like that.
Yeah, but they are being very. I mean, it is his own home and things like that, and they did not agree to their promise that they made. So
yeah, that is kind of like you said. Anyone would kind of be a little upset in that kind of situation.
The BBC did not invent.
Of course not, and because you never invent anything, and she's not filed criminal charges against him. What are we talking about? What is she saying?
Talking about emotional manipulation. Is the sex industry for your financial gain?
Absolute garbage. She has not filed criminal. This person, if they exist, has not filed criminal charges against me. I welcome anybody who believes I've harmed them, male or female, any point in the past, to file criminal charges against me, and I will fight them. I know who I am, and I know what I've done, and I know the truth, and I know that I'll be found innocent of this attack. The reason I'm being attacked is because of my massive influence, not because I've ever hurt anybody. And for you to sit here and say that everybody around you is saying you're innocent, but that doesn't matter because the state will say they're victims, and they're just going to grab everybody you know and call everybody victims, even if they say they're not, and try and put you in jail. You are describing a matrix attack. You're not describing human trafficking.
I'm describing women who are going to court to accuse you of rape and human trafficking.
We will see what women go. We will see what women go to court at the end of this trial. We'll see which women go to court.
Can I finish, please?
We'll see which women go to court.
I'm describing women who are going to court to accuse you of rape and human
Sophie hasn't gone to court. Sophie doesn't
and
exist.
I'm describing women who have spoken to the BBC at length
Sophie doesn't exist.
and other media organisations about what they say is emotional manipulation and coercion, and I'm quoting back to you your own words where you describe
They're not my words.
coercion.
They're words
and
you
emotional
found. They're
manipulation.
words you found on the internet, and Sophie doesn't exist.
On
So
your
let's move on to
website,
the next
in
subject.
your voice.
Move on to the.
Where else are you supposed to find it?
Yeah, it's not like. I guess what he's trying to say is like it's not words that you like. There's like a video recording of me saying like.
Ah,
you know what I
like
mean?
so, like
And also that kind of
like
stuff-
secondhand information from just like.
It could just be somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
You just found it. But also, nowadays, anyone can go out and say any information is false. Like, you seen those videos of, like, some famous people be like, I didn't say that. That could be AI that made that video.
AI is
You know what I
crazy.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
AI has
nowadays,
been
it's kind of hard to know that anything you're seeing is, like,
truly real.
true. Because it could be fake.
Yeah, I
Right?
remember there's these songs. There's a song made by like Frank Ocean. You know Frank? You know Frank. Let me not ask that question. But so there are songs by him, and I was listening to it on TikTok. I was like, that's a bop.
And it wasn't real?
AI.
It was
It's all AI.
Yeah.
I was like,
Like, that's kind of
oh
scary.
my gosh, like no way, like that was all AI. Okay, let's carry on.
Alright.
The next subject.
No, I think I'll stick on this one for a minute. So there's other places in that same website where you say you get girls to fall in love with you and they do it because they love you, because they want to do what you say. Convincing women to take part in some kind of business arrangement doesn't work long term because they're emotional. You've got to get them to fall in love with you.
Once
That's
again,
coercion, that's emotional manipulation, that's abuse.
what you found are clips from the internet, some text from the internet, and you're going to sit here and tell me that that's the reason I should be.
Your website, your words.
It's not my website.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Check my website. Next.
Next.
It's the website you've taken down, and I wonder why those comments have been taken
No
down.
website's been taken down. My website.
We love ads. We love ads.
Same for a very long time.
The comments on this website, on the original website, have been taken down, and I wonder why.
You are accusing me. I'm guessing. What you're trying to say is you're accusing me. You're trying to say that I'm guilty of the things I'm accused of, and I'm emotionally manipulating people.
I'm saying that you have said you emotionally manipulated people here for your own financial gain,
No, absolutely not.
and I'm asking you about that.
Absolutely not is the answer. I look forward to the end of this trial. I look forward to clearing my name. I look forward to the BBC and the legacy media having to say you're not guilty and having to tell the truth. As I've said before, the only other person who's been found, despite absolute rigorous, destructive levels of investigation and prodding into my life, is this imaginary Sophie by the BBC who doesn't exist. And if you were to find any single other man on earth and try and analyze his life forensically to the level they've done mine, you would find genuine damage to people. I don't hurt people.
It's not just
Thousands of women have come out in my
allegations.
defense. Thousands of women have come out in my defense, and you've not mentioned that. Thousands of women come out in my defense.
Because the problem is when women accuse you of serious crimes
Okay,
and emotional
but
manipulation.
let's agree that
that's
thousands
the
of women.
problem.
Let's agree that
It's not the
thousands.
problem that some people say you haven't done it, it's a problem that some people say you have.
Thousands of women come out in my defense, and as we stand right now, we have an open criminal investigation. The people who are involved in the criminal investigation are saying that we're not victims of anything. Andrew's fine, he's never hurt us. You're saying, no, I have the opposite to that. I have the counter to that. I have someone called Sophie with no face, a fake name, who we've invented, and she's not accusing you of anything criminal. So I don't see the whole point
You
you're trying to
say
make
you
here.
manipulate women, they say you manipulate women, why wouldn't people think you do?
I'm not here. Do you think I'm manipulating you?
I'm asking you about the testimony you've given on your website and the testimony
No,
women have given
you've
about
printed
you.
something off that you found on Reddit, and you're going to sit here and say that that makes you a bad person.
crazy.
I'm saying that you should know better as a journalist and do some proper journalism. Let's investigate the fact that
I think you
thousands.
should answer my questions
I am.
properly.
I am. I already have, and we should move on. She's just trying to start arguing.
It's not only about the criminal allegations, it's a much bigger issue. You've got children's organisations in the UK, you've got rape organisations in the UK, you've got the police naming you by name as someone who has a harmful influence on children and on women in the UK and elsewhere because of the things you say, because of the way you present gender relations, the way you say men should treat women.
That's very upsetting. And the reason that's very upsetting is because I know that's not true. I'm genuinely a good person. I believe my impact on the world is positive. In fact, if you were to read the comment section of nearly any video,
I think that's kind of crazy.
What's your opinion first? Because
Like-
I'm still forming mine
like,
in my words. Because I was like,
You know, I think before, I didn't know these organizations come out and say that this guy.
So that said that,
right?
no, but for a whole country, for UK.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. The whole these leaders in the UK, because that's where he's at, right? The leaders in the UK, for them to come out and say, "Hey, Andrew Tate is like, this is the reason why kids are being like violent, why they have he's the head of misogyny. This is why." I think that's kind of like a scapegoat.
What do you mean by that?
Like, can you really come out and like? I've done a little more research, and I do understand that like there are clips of him that go around that can be misinterpreted. Even if he is trying to overall say that have a positive impact over women, right? And be like, hey, you should treat women with respect. If these clips are cut down into out of context things, men could take that and do their own thing with that, right? And they could do negative things with that information.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, is that his fault?
Is that his fault for saying the things that people clip?
If he goes 5 hours talking about how you should respect women, and then there's one thing that's taken out of context out of that segment, right? And someone goes and posts that, and then someone takes a negative annotation of that and treats women negatively, is that his fault?
I see what you mean. So it's like saying like, it's almost like you made like an example of someone doing something, but people make it to seem like you did it, like that you're saying that statement. That statement. So like you're saying, let's say like how like you paraphrase like a word from somebody. Like you're paraphrasing these words, but someone who's just randomly viewing it doesn't know that he's just paraphrasing the words. It's just like
it can be really taken out of context, and I feel like, don't get me wrong, that is bad because then the clip is still out there, and there's still some young man out there
that only takes that information.
That only takes that information and they do something. Maybe they might do something negative to a woman with that, and that is bad, right? I'm not saying that isn't, but is that Andrew Tate's fault? And it is okay for these big organizations to come out and say this is why this is happening, but at the end of the day, he can't control those things.
But in a sense, it's like these are big organizations. Like think about like let's go. I don't want to go back because this is gonna ruin our time. But I'm just saying, like, think about those huge organizations. There's plenty of people. There are so many people. UK. That's a country. There's a country. These organizations in a country, and it's not. They were saying like even like whole orphanage, like not orphanages, like
the children's organizations.
Children organizations. Like, I'm sure there's so many people working in those organizations that are like filtering through, even like the realism of like what he's saying, like all that is true to what he's saying, and like I understand they might put out a clip of something like that, but they can also go out and find the information of him, being a genuine nice person. But if they're not finding that information, if you can't find this information, this dude being a really genuine nice person, it's like, this is all I got.
I feel like the core of that argument stems from the fact that these government or these agencies and these big government things like the children's organization, that kind of stuff, to agree with that argument, you kind of have to say that they're always going to do what's right. And
so you're saying like,
right,
what I'm saying is that they're always doing something right, kind of like.
I like, in a way, I feel like when you say that, it gives them the assumption that, hey,
that they're the good person.
Pure intent.
They're the pure intent.
But at the same time,
but it's a children's organization.
Okay, from their perspective, right? If you have these young kids, like, come on, there's middle schoolers listening to this, so that is the children's organization gets involved, right? A middle schooler goes and hears these things about Andrew Tate, and they might not have fully understand it, or maybe they do, and it causes them to act differently. Whether that's in a way that is more expressing your ideas, whether that is they misinterpret it and they act rude towards women or that kind of stuff, which is really bad, right? Or they just go out there and they express more of themselves. They are sick and tired of maybe being put down, and they see Andrew Tate as a man that comes out and expresses how he feels, and they see that as an inspiration to do that as well. I feel like that's a good for the world, but in the children's organization sense, that would make it harder to manage kids, and that would make it harder for them to like be sit there in school and do their homework and be obedient and
be
not
a
call any
corporate
trouble,
human,
and like work in a factory one day, and I feel like that intent isn't, you can't give them that full thing.
Okay, but then you also have other organizations. It's not just the children. It's
Yeah.
not just the children. You remember how she said like
Okay,
5.
go ahead and go back.
Okay, we can go back. We can go
We can
back.
talk about the other ones.
On children and on women in the UK and elsewhere, because of the things you say, because of the way you present gender relations, the way you say men should treat women.
That's very upsetting.
I think we
And the
missed
reason
You've given on your website and the testimony women have given
you've
about
printed
it.
something off that you found on Reddit, and you're going to sit here and say that makes me a bad person. I'm saying that you should know better as a journalist and do some proper journalism. Let's investigate the fact that
I think
thousands.
you should answer my questions
I am.
properly.
I already have. And
A much bigger issue. You've got children's organisations in the UK, you've got rape organisations in the UK, you've got the police naming you by name as someone who...
See, okay. Rape organization. That crime has already been dropped,
Yeah.
right? So, that's out of place. Police. Come on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, you have to understand, like, how is it okay? How can you sit here and say, Andrew Tate is the reason why crime is going up? Come on, does that not just sound
Okay.
stupid?
Yeah, that sounds
like
dumb.
I feel like you can't justify that.
Did she say any
It
others?
was a harmful influence. On
Then it was a
children
harmful
and on
influence,
women.
right, on children and women. Okay.
Oh my
so-
god, it was just those 3.
Right. So I can understand. I can understand if you have a middle school kid that takes one of these clips out of context, and maybe you have some kid that does something incorrect, right?
Yeah.
But is that his fault? That this random kid, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that this someone that was not mindless enough to just mindlessly listen to that,
Yeah.
right? They're eventually gonna find something to mindlessly listen to, whether that's bad or good, right? And I feel like it should be on. Like, why is this his fault when he overall, right, is trying to spread good in the world and be a good, positive impact for young men, right? Is it his fault if people misinterpret what he's saying, or if
But
someone
why say it?
say what?
Why say something where it can be misinterpreted?
Well, I feel like he's not trying to, but at the same time, when you talk about a subject that long, like, even when you talk about anything that long, anything we taken out of context, we're us sitting here too right now. I feel like there's something that we could take something one of us said and take it out of context and make one of us look bad,
Yeah.
and then someone could take that the wrong way.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, people. Yeah, okay.
it's very easy to do that, and it's kind of impossible to always be like, keep yourself safe.
It is impossible to keep yourself safe. I can't say so, especially if how much content he puts out.
Mhm.
There's so little like that you cannot like. I don't know. Like I'm just saying, but like there's people who go out there and post every day, and there's not a lot of bad stuff about them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna. I can't say
But do they have the level of influence that he does?
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast?
Think about Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast? Well, I feel like his whole rep is targeted towards not saying that kind of stuff. And there is...
But people could go out and find the information about him doing that type of stuff.
In
Can't
the
they?
past, right? Yeah.
Can't they? Yeah.
But should... I don't feel like Mr. Beast or any of those creators should be held accountable for those things that they said 5 years ago. Because it's a much different world now. You know? 5 years ago, the stuff Andrew Tate was saying was completely normal. But now you say it in today's world, and it's hated upon. Or frowned upon.
Yeah, but okay. So say say like a person has an allegation of rape from 5 years ago. Should they not be looking at that?
I mean,
Not an
did
allegation.
they
No,
commit
not
a
allegation.
crime?
Like they actually did it
And they
5 years ago.
Well, then I feel like that is a very important thing because they did that and that's wrong. But it's not. It's also not like.
And so it is a different world back then, 5 years ago, and where it wasn't like
what was
nobody
wrong was
looked
still
at
wrong,
it.
but
Yeah.
the idea is more the influence. Like Andrew Tate could still say this stuff. Like I believe that him as a person is a good person.
Okay.
But the things that he says can be taken out of context and used as a negative influence. But the thing is, 5 years ago, that same clips, 5 years ago, would not have been seen as a negative influence. Like when Mr. Beast went out there and like would make fun of people that would identify as like something different. Be like, I'm an attack helicopter. Or when he would make racist jokes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I feel like back then it was just more
Did he make
accepted.
racist jokes?
Yeah.
He did?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
You positive? Oh, okay.
I just saw something over this like a couple days ago, and so there's one video that he has, and it's like, press this button to make or something like that to make your bigger, right?
Yeah,
and he presses it or does whatever, and it shifts into a scene, and now it's a person of color sitting there instead of him as a white man. And then there's also other clips where it's like, oh, you can't do that, you'll get shot. It's like, what? You know what I mean? And so it's just kind of like, back then, the internet was different.
Yeah.
And it was. Times have changed, and I feel like everyone needs to be more careful of what they say. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's okay to hold someone accountable for stuff they said that long ago. It's different when they say it, and if it's something they did. You know what I mean? Because I feel like
is it saying doing?
But I think it's satire.
You could have kept it a thought.
But like when Mr. Beast went back and said that kind of stuff, it's more as a satire. It's meant to be more like a joke.
Well, of course, but this is a dude who's very influential in a sense of like preaching like his beliefs.
But back then he wasn't influential.
And Mr. Beast was a content creator for jokes. That's a whole different aspect.
But I feel like, doesn't it still imply, because back then he didn't have so much influence, and so he was a little more careless with what he would say. But
he still knew that he had influence.
Well, I mean, like back then, like he was eventually small. He was small back then, only maybe like a couple thousand followers and whatnot. Like, should that stuff that he said back then, when he had low influence and the internet was a different place, should that be held accountable to who he is now? You know?
Man, I don't know. Let's continue the video.
Can you continue? Okay.
Elsewhere, because of the things you say, because of the way you present gender relations, the way you say men should treat women.
That's very upsetting. And the reason that's very upsetting is because I know that's not true. I'm genuinely a good person. I believe my impact on the world is positive. In fact, if you were to read the comment section of nearly any video I post, especially by the legacy media, 95% of the population agree with me. Most people know that the things I say are positive. Legacy media as a whole has lost all its credibility in the last 3 to 4 years. Nobody believes it. And it's a shame. It's a massive shame that the BBC come here and try and push and purport this idea that I'm a dangerous person. I'm anti-drugs. I've never pushed drugs or any. I'm anti-drugs. I'm anti-violence. The UK is facing a knife crime epidemic, and they're going to sit here and say that I'm the most dangerous man in the UK.
You have said you're the most dangerous man in the world.
I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world.
You've also said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner. I'm glad you find that funny.
I find it funny that you're sitting here saying that I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world, and you believe that's. When did I say that?
I'm asking if you believe it.
No, you said you're the most dangerous man in the world. Is that some kind of proof that I'm dangerous? Am I Dr. Evil now? I'm telling you that it's very upsetting that you're going to sit here and that certain organizations in the world are going to try and pretend that I'm the biggest force of evil on earth when I'm genuinely a force for good. I'm genuinely a force for good. And the reason they're doing this is because of the massive influence I have over the youth, and they don't like that I'm telling the youth to think outside the matrix and ignore things like the BBC, which come here with loaded questions and false narratives and try and paint innocent people as guilty.
You've said women's intimate parts belong to their male partner.
I said that if a woman marries a man, she takes his last name and traditionally the man gives her away. I've been pushing traditional religious beliefs, because I'm a religious man, and traditional beliefs in regards to marriage, which everybody accepted 10 to 15 years ago.
So
that's not a crazy conspiracy theory. But if you're going to sit here and say that me believing a woman should take a man's last name in marriage makes me the most dangerous man in the world, then you're just going to lose even more credibility than the BBC's already lost in the last 4 to 5 years. If that's your point, if that's your narrative you want to push,
say that
good
men
luck.
should be able to sleep with a lot of women outside marriage. That doesn't sound very religious or very conservative.
That's not what I said they should be able to. I said a lot of high-value men, a lot of rich men do it. And then we discussed at length on podcasts why rich men do it. And we also discussed why women decide to be unfaithful. It's not a gendered argument. We discussed unfaithfulness as a whole. What are the reasons and motivations for men? What are the reasons and motivations for women? Because you have no time to actually, watch my content, because you have no time to actually watch my content at length and understand what I'm saying, you just come here with a small snippet which we provided to you on a piece of paper.
Saying it 3 times doesn't make it true.
No, completely. You don't have a clue on what I say or what I talk about. You never watch my content. You have small pieces of paper, small clips on a piece of paper, and you're trying to pretend I've said evil things. And then you're going to say I'm the most dangerous man in the world, which is truly laughable.
You said that, not me.
Okay. Do you believe I'm the most
say-
dangerous man in the world, Lucy?
I'm not answering your questions.
Well then we need to change the dynamic of this interview because, and I'll make this clear, I allowed you into my home. I'm doing you a favor, giving you the first interview I'm giving to the public. You don't come here with a position of authority. You're not the police. I don't respect the BBC. I don't know you. You do not come here with a position of authority over me. We are equals. We are people. We're citizens of the world, and we sit here as equals. And I see you as my equal. And if you ask me questions, I can ask you questions back. For you to come here and sit down and pretend you're the Gestapo and that you don't have to answer my questions is disingenuous because I don't owe you
me
anything.
asking questions and you answer.
But I don't owe
however you
no.
want.
This is a conversation, and I don't owe you any degree of authority over me. So let's make that clear. And that doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or from the BBC or the CNN. I'm here to
You
answer
just
your
said-
questions and be honest with you and do you a favor.
Great.
And I'm doing you a favor. But you come here with loaded questions. You're trying to paint a narrative of me which is negative,
I'm asking you
And
about
that's
things
fine.
you've said that people are concerned about.
and that's fine.
You
But you're
have
not going to
said
sit here and say you
over-
don't answer my questions because you're not above me.
This is also not supposed to be a third degree, it's supposed to be a conversation.
Well,
Absolutely.
it would help if you answered the question.
I've answered every question so far.
Let me ask another question.
Sure.
You have said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner, and if she goes on OnlyFans, he is entitled to a cut of her income.
You are extremely. It's actually very confusing to me why you're going to sit here, take long format podcasts I've done, which are 3 or 4 hours long, in context where I've sat with OnlyFans girls, 10 or 15 OnlyFans girls, where we've been joking back and forth, ignore every comment and satirical comment and sarcastic comment that the females.
Do you see this award behind me?
I'm not giving you your publication. Like I want to. I wish I could block him out, but I'm probably gonna be.
You said that you're the most evil man in the world. I don't know if you understand what sarcasm
Did you
is.
say it?
I don't know if you understand what sarcasm is. I don't know if you understand what context is. I don't know if you understand what satirical content.
So you're saying it was
comments are.
sarcastic?
I'm saying it was a very interesting talk show. And for you to sit here and say that that is my true core beliefs and that makes me
Is
a bad
it?
person is disingenuous.
Is it?
Of course not.
Was it sarcasm?
Absolutely. You should watch the show.
You were being sarcastic
You should-
when you said. Let me
you
just
should-
clarify.
you should
okay?
watch the show.
Let me clarify for the audience. You were being sarcastic when you said a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner.
No.
You didn't believe that.
No, it's not that. It's that you haven't watched the show at length, and you should have, because the woman was saying, my man's car belongs to me because he's my man. And she was on OnlyFans. And then 20 minutes later, when she said she was on OnlyFans, I said, well, you're selling your body, that belongs to him because he's your man. And she laughed. She laughed, and she
See,
said,
that is the hurt in these short form content. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Because like something he said as a joke got put out of context because of that, right? So from what it sounds like, hey VJ, you have a partner, you own her intimate parts.
Yeah.
That's bad. He just gives context that it's like she was saying, hey, my man, I have my husband, so I own his car, right? And then however
And
long
she-
later he made a joke back. Well, if that's the case, you do OnlyFans, then your man should own your parts and get a cut of the money that you do if you own
of
his
the
car.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I can see how it's so easy for that to be taken out of that context.
Yeah.
And so,
Especially if it's spaced apart in the podcast. Like in the podcast. Yeah.
but then it's very easy for people to create a bad image of him when they hear those kind of things, because no one's gonna go and sit down and watch a 4-hour podcast to understand context. Because at the end of the day,
But
people
I
don't
feel-
care that much.
But I feel like if you're going into someone's house as a journalist, being one of the first people to go in, it's like, shouldn't you have done the research for something like
I
that?
feel like you should have, but I'm talking more in a context of like the world, like people's opinions of Andrew Tate.
What do you mean?
Like
oh,
how
like,
people
like
just,
every,
might
just
they,
everybody else.
They hop on the bandwagon of how he's a bad person without doing the proper research. I don't mind someone that can sit here with proper proof, and also I don't even have proper research done, right? So I can't fully sit here and say 100% that I know he's a good person. I might believe it, but that doesn't really mean too much. But I feel like it's not okay for these people to come out and guarantee start talking like defamation of it on his image, when they're not willing to go through and understand the context of some of the stuff he says.
Oh, what he's saying, yeah.
Right?
Especially with like YouTube Shorts or TikTok, you only
Yeah.
got a minute or 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or something like that. And I mean, you could cut it out or whatever. Like it just really depends. But I like looked at you at a point in time because he says something where it was like,
The show.
You were being sarcastic
You should-
when you said. Let me just clarify.
You should
okay?
watch the show.
Let me clarify for the audience. Your partner.
No.
You didn't believe that.
No, it's not that. It's that you haven't watched the
no,
show.
no, it's not that. Like I was thinking like because she states like the statement that he says. He states the statement that he says, and it's like, no, it's not that. He doesn't agree. He doesn't say it's like like false in a sense that he's like that
He
he's
doesn't
saying.
agree or disagree.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
You know?
That's why I was like, like it
Yeah.
raised the eyebrow. I was just like, but I mean he defends it, but it's like, could he have thought of it in that way?
I can understand. Like, I feel like because it is still context. Because genuinely, if you have a relationship and you believe like, oh, I'm with my man, so I own his car.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that double standard needs to be there.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, then as your man, if your career is OnlyFans, then I feel like I deserve some of that cut from that.
Yeah.
Because if you have the right to say, hey, you own that car, that's my car.
Yeah.
Then I should have the right to be like, hey,